The 10 rarest and weirdest sleeper cars of the 90s. What if the car that blew your doors off at a red light wasn't a Camaro or a Mustang, but a Volvo Wagon? Or a blacked-out pickup that left Ferraris in its dust? In today's episode, we're diving into 10 sleeper cars from the 1990s. Machines that didn't look fast, but absolutely were. These weren't poster cars. They weren't in the magazines. But in the real world, they embarrassed a whole lot of muscle on the streets. We're talking turbo trucks, supercharged coupes, and sedans that looked like rentals, but ran like rockets. Think you know what ruled the streets in the 90s? You might be surprised. Which of these sleepers caught you off guard? Did you ever own one? Or lose to one? Tell us in the comments below. Hit like, subscribe, and ring that bell so you never miss another trip down horsepower memory lane with muscle car masters. (1991) GMC Syclone. In the early 90s, the term performance truck was almost laughable until GMC flipped the script. Enter the 1991 GMC Syclone, a sinister little pickup that looked like it belonged in a strip mall parking lot, but packed enough firepower to outrun Ferraris. Under the hood was a 4.3-liter LB4 V6, turbocharged with a Mitsubishi TD0617C unit, and cooled by a Garrett intercooler. That setup cranked out 280 horsepower and a pavement-ripping 350 pound-feet of torque. But it wasn't just raw numbers, it was how the Syclone delivered them. With a 4-speed 4L60 automatic and all-wheel drive splitting torque. 35 to 65 front to rear, this truck launched harder than anything in its class or out of it. The Syclone could rocket from 0 to 60 in just 4.3 seconds and cover the quarter mile in 13.1 at 98 miles per hour. That was faster than a Ferrari 348 TS, faster than a Z28 Camaro, and definitely faster than any other pickup on the planet. It was so quick, in fact, the NHRA banned it from stock class drag racing. And with its all-black paint, sport body cladding, and no-nonsense stance, the Syclone didn't just go fast, it looked mean doing it. The legend was short-lived, but unforgettable. Only 2,995 were ever built in 1991. Keep watching, because the next car might just make you question everything you thought you knew about full-size sedans. (1995) Chevrolet Impala SS. If you grew up in the 60s or 70s, the name Impala SS likely brings back memories of chrome, rumble, and raw rear-wheel drive power. But in 1995, Chevrolet resurrected the nameplate in a way nobody expected. The new Impala SS didn't scream performance, it whispered it. Built on the full-size B-body platform, this four-door brute took the bones of the Caprice 9C1 police cruiser and added just enough muscle to turn it into a street-sweeping sleeper. At its core was a 5.7-liter LT1 V8, borrowed from the C4 Corvette, albeit with cast-iron cylinder heads and a slightly detuned setup. Still, it cranked out a solid 260 horsepower and 330 pound-feet of torque. Mated to a 4-speed 4L60E automatic and rear-wheel drive, the Impala SS could hit 0 to 60 in just 6.5 seconds faster than many so-called sports sedans of the time. What made it even more compelling was its understated look. Monochromatic paint, no chrome, a lowered stance, and 17-inch 5-spoke wheels. It looked like something a detective would drive, but it hauled like a hot rod. Inside, it was all business. Analog gauges, firm bucket seats, and a floor-mounted shifter. But don't get too comfortable, because the next car might just destroy your idea of what a Mercury coupe could ever be. 1990 Mercury Cougar XR7. Most folks remember the Mercury Cougar as a personal luxury coupe, something your uncle might have driven with a landau roof and wire wheel covers. But in 1990, Mercury pulled a fast one. The XR7 trim quietly transformed the Cougar into a true factory sleeper, borrowing the same drivetrain as the Thunderbird Super Coupe, but wrapping it in a more upscale, understated body. Beneath the hood sat a 3.8-liter supercharged Essex V6, force-fed to produce 210 horsepower and a massive 315 pound-feet of torque at just 2,600 RPM. That's right, this wasn't some lazy cruiser. It had real twist down low and a torque band that pulled hard through the rev range. What really made the Cougar XR7 stand out was the option of a 5-speed manual transmission, rare for its class and era. Rear-wheel drive and an independent rear suspension gave it handling chops that turned heads. The 0 to 60 time hovered around 7 seconds, putting it toe-to-toe with V8 pony cars of the day. Inside, it was quieter and more refined, a true gentleman's hot rod. It didn't need to shout. It just needed an open stretch of highway to flex. But if you think American sleepers are wild, wait until you meet this next German-built coupe with a supercharger and a serious attitude problem. (1992) Volkswagen Corrado G60. The 1992 Volkswagen Corrado G60 is one of those rare cars that leaves muscle car fans scratching their heads and then tipping their hats. It didn't have V8 thunder, it didn't come from Detroit, and it didn't wear stripes or scoops, but it had some of the most daring engineering ever to come out of Wolfsburg. Under its compact hood sat a 1.8-liter inline-4. But instead of a turbo, VW fitted it with the quirky and high-maintenance G-Lader Supercharger, a scroll-type charger that gave the Corrado 158 horsepower and 166 pound-feet of torque at 4,000 RPM. Matched to a slick 5-speed manual and front-wheel drive, the Corrado G60 could hit 60 in 7.5 seconds. But the real magic wasn't in a straight line. It came alive in the corners. With a tight suspension, wide track, and a rear spoiler that raised automatically at 45 miles per hour, it handled like a BMW, not a Golf. The steering was razor-sharp. The power delivery was smooth but urgent, especially under hard throttle when the G-Lader screamed to life. It looked like a funky coupe, but drove like a backroad scalpel. It didn't last long on the market, but for those in the know, it was a true Euro sleeper. (1997) Volvo 850R. If you think Volvo and your first thoughts are boxy styling, beige paint, and soccer practice, the 1997 Volvo 850R is about to shake that image to the ground. This unassuming Swedish station wagon didn't just carry groceries, it carried a serious grudge. Under the hood sat a 2.3-liter B5 234T5 inline 5-cylinder engine, turbocharged to pump out 240 horsepower and 221 pound-feet of torque. And that torque hit early just 2,100 RPM, giving it punch off the line that surprised a lot of rearview mirrors. In the US, it came mostly with a 4-speed automatic, but European models got the coveted 5-speed manual. Even with the slush box, the 850R could go 0 to 60 in 6.7 seconds quicker than many V8 Mustangs of the same era. But the numbers only tell part of the story. The 850R came with sport-tuned suspension, larger sway bars, upgraded brakes, and grippy tires on unique 17-inch Titan wheels. Inside, it featured suede and leather bucket seats, a performance gauge cluster, and just enough red stitching to let you know it meant business. It was safe, comfortable, and looked like a family car, but when pushed, it turned into a snarling, boost-fed sleeper that could hang with real muscle. Still think front-wheel drive cars are boring? The next one revs past 7,000 and was built to humiliate V8s in the twisties. 1998 Ford Contour SVT. Most muscle car guys overlooked the 1998 Ford Contour SVT, and that was a mistake. On paper, it looked like a compact commuter car, the kind of thing you'd expect to see in a rental lot. But under that conservative sheet, metal lived a Euro-inspired, high-revving animal. Developed by Ford's special vehicle team, the Contour SVT was a U.S. spec version of the European Ford Mondeo, tuned for sharper handling, better brakes, and serious performance credibility. At its heart was a hand-assembled 2.5-liter Duratec dual-overhead cam V6, pushing out 200 horsepower at 6,600 RPM and 169 pound-feet of torque at 5,500. While those numbers might not shock anyone today, the delivery certainly did. This engine loved to scream, pulling hard to redline with a growl that sounded more Yamaha motorcycle than mid-size sedan. Mated to a slick, shifting 5-speed Getrag manual and a finely tuned suspension setup, the SVT was one of the best-handling front-wheel drive sedans of the decade. Car and driver praised its steering feel and agility, comparing it to much more expensive German rivals. It wasn't built to drag race, it was built to dominate the twisties. And it did just that. Think that was unexpected? The next car looked like a Camry's cousin, but it packed a V6 surprise. 1992 Toyota Camry V6. If there was ever a car that defined "don't judge a book by its cover," the 1992 Toyota Camry V6 is it. This mid-size sedan was the king of suburbia, quiet, reliable, and invisible in traffic. But for the select few who ordered it with the optional 3.0-liter 3VZFE dual-overhead Cam V6 and a 5-speed manual, this grocery-getter became a true street sleeper. With 185 horsepower at 5,800 RPM and 189 pound-feet of torque at 4,800, it delivered smooth, responsive acceleration that left many early 90s sports coupes in the dust. The Camry's V6 was refined and overbuilt, sharing DNA with the Lexus ES300 of the time. Paired with the Rare manual, it could hit 0 to 60 in about 7.5 seconds. That was quicker than a base Mustang or a Mazda MX-6. The real magic? It looked like nothing. Soft suspension, quiet exhaust, and styling that whispered safe and boring. But bury the throttle, and this Camry pulled like a true sleeper. The 3VZFE engine became a legend in Toyota circles for its durability and tuning potential. Some owners even added turbos or superchargers, creating builds that stunned unsuspecting muscle cars at stoplights. 1998 Jeep Grand Cherokee 5.9 Limited. In 1998, Jeep didn't just build an SUV, they built a leather-wrapped missile. The Grand Cherokee 5.9 Limited was the final hurrah for the first-gen ZJ, and boy, did it go out swinging. While most SUVs were still chasing truck-like utility or suburban comfort, Jeep dropped in the most powerful motor they had, a 5.9-liter Magnum overhead valve V8. This beast pushed 245 horsepower at just 4,000 RPM, and more importantly, a monstrous 345 pound-feet of torque at 3,200 RPM. Mated to a 4-speed 46RE automatic and Jeep's full-time quadra-track all-wheel drive system, this luxury SUV could hit 60 in just 6.8 seconds. That made it the fastest SUV in America at the time. It didn't just go fast, it launched hard. That instant torque off the line gave it muscle car urgency in a body you'd never suspect. The 5.9 Limited came fully loaded leather seats, wood grain trim, power everything, and even a functional hood scoop to help with cooling. It had a dual exhaust growl, stiffer suspension, and unique wheels to set it apart. But it still looked like just another family hauler. This was Detroit's idea of brute force with manners, and it worked. But what if I told you Buick built something even more subtle, with a blower under the hood? 1997, Buick Riviera Supercharged. If there was ever a car that redefined what a sleeper could be, it was the 1997 Buick Riviera Supercharged. On the outside, it looked like something a retired banker would drive: long, smooth lines, quiet presence, and a plush interior wrapped in leather and wood grain. But hiding beneath all that comfort was a supercharged secret. Buick stuffed a 3.8-liter L67 V6 under the hood, paired with an Eaton M90 Roots-type blower. That setup pushed out 240 horsepower and a hearty 280 pound-feet of torque at 3,200 RPM. That torque hit early and hit hard, launching this luxury coupe from 0 to 60 in just 7.2 seconds, quicker than many V8-powered sedans of the day. What made the Riviera so special wasn't just the power, it was how silently it delivered it. The car cruised like a Cadillac, but pulled like a muscle car in disguise. It featured a 4-speed 4T60E automatic and front-wheel drive, civilized, but still responsive when you dipped into the throttle. Enthusiasts knew the L67 had untapped potential too. With a pulley swap and a tune, you could unleash even more power and turn this sleeper into a stoplight menace. It didn't look fast, but that was the whole point. (1990) Ford Thunderbird SC. When most folks think of the Ford Thunderbird, they picture a comfortable cruiser, maybe something Grandpa drove on Sundays. But in 1990, the Thunderbird Super Coupe, better known as the SC, took that image and threw it straight out the window. Designed to compete directly with European Grand Tourers like the BMW 5 Series and Mercedes E-Class, the Thunderbird SC was no slouch. It was a proper rear-wheel drive performance coupe with serious firepower under the hood. It ran a 3.8-liter Essex V6, force-fed by an Eaton M90 Supercharger. That setup cranked out 210 horsepower and a thunderous 315 pound-feet of torque at just 2,600 RPM. With either a 5-speed manual or a 4-speed automatic, the Thunderbird SC could launch from 0 to 60 in just 6.9 seconds, putting it neck and neck with plenty of contemporary V8 muscle cars. But this car wasn't just about straight-line speed. The SC featured a fully independent suspension, 4-wheel disc brakes, and electronically adjustable shocks. That made it one of the most advanced American chassis of its day. It could hustle through corners with confidence, while still keeping you cushioned in bolstered leather seats, blasting tunes through a premium stereo. This was brains and brawn in one tight package. The Thunderbird Super Coupe was American muscle disguised as a European tourer. It didn't wear a badge of aggression, but it sure delivered the punch. Those were 10 of the most underrated sleeper cars of the 90s. Machines that looked mild, but packed a serious punch. From turbo trucks to supercharged sedans, they proved that real speed doesn't always shout. Now it's your turn. Did we miss a sleeper you remember? Maybe you owned one, raced one, or got smoked by one back in the day. Share your story in the comments. Don't forget to like the video, share it with fellow gearheads, and subscribe to Muscle Car Masters for more hidden horsepower and V8 nostalgia from the golden era of street machines.